The void of space held many secrets, but the Halcyon Confederation believed they had seen everything. Admiral Reth watched his display screens as the unknown vessel drifted into sensor range. The ship looked dead, its hull scarred with battle damage and radiation burns. No lights flickered in its windows. No energy signatures pulsed from its core. "Run a full diagnostic scan," Reth ordered from his command chair. His scaled fingers drummed against the armrest with barely contained excitement. In 40 years of service, he had never encountered a completely unknown vessel design. Commander Lyra stepped closer, her antenna twitching with concern. "Admiral, perhaps we should attempt communication first. Standard protocols suggest." "Standard protocols are for known species," Reth interrupted. "This wreck belongs to no civilization in our database. We scan first, ask questions later, begin deep spectrum analysis." The technician at the scanning station activated the equipment. Invisible waves of energy reached across the darkness, penetrating the hull of the silent ship. Data began streaming across multiple screens. The vessel measured nearly 2 kilometers long, built with unusual density. Its armor plating used alloys the Halcyon computers struggled to identify. "Admiral, I'm detecting life signs," the scanner technician reported, his voice rising with surprise. 847 biological entities. They appear to be in some form of suspended animation. Reth leaned forward. "Fascinating. What species?" "Unknown, sir. The biological markers don't match anything in Confederation records. Their cellular structure is remarkably dense. Gravity adaptation suggests their homeworld has significant mass." Lyra examined her own console, her concern deepening. "Admiral, the vessel is beginning to show power fluctuations. Our scan may be triggering automated systems." "Impossible," Reth dismissed. "The ship is clearly derelict. Continue the scan. I want detailed information on their propulsion, weaponry, and biological composition. This discovery could change everything we know about the outer territories." Deep inside the damaged battleship, warning lights activated in sequence down silent corridors. Emergency power routed through backup systems that had waited months for this moment. In the medical bay, cryopods began their revival sequences with mechanical precision. Captain Anne Reeves felt warmth returning to her limbs before consciousness fully returned. The transition from frozen sleep to wakefulness always felt like drowning in reverse. She gasped, her lungs burning as they remembered how to process oxygen. Her eyes opened to the familiar sight of her pod's interior display. "Welcome back, Captain Reeves," Archon's calm voice filled her ears. The ship's artificial intelligence had been her constant companion for 3 years. Revival sequence complete, all vital signs within acceptable parameters. Anne's training kicked in despite the fog in her mind. Status report. The Indomitable has been in emergency drift for 6 months, 17 days following engagement with hostile forces. Hull integrity at 72%. Primary systems operational. However, we are currently under active hostile scan by unknown vessels. That cut through the confusion like ice water. Anne sat up, her enhanced physiology already recovering from the long sleep. Hostile scan, classification. Deep spectrum analysis. Full penetration of hull systems, crew biometrics, and classified technology databases. Scan intensity increasing. I have detected cellular damage beginning in crew members still in cryosleep. Defense protocols authorize immediate countermeasures. Anne stepped out of her pod, her bare feet steady on the cold deck plates. Around her, other pods were opening. Her bridge crew emerged with varying degrees of alertness. Lieutenant David Stone looked ready to fight. Dr. Patricia Webb appeared concerned but focused. Engineer Raymond Cole was already heading toward his station before fully processing his surroundings. "Crew status?" Anne asked, pulling on her uniform with practiced efficiency. 847 personnel in various states of revival. No casualties during suspension. However, the ongoing scan is causing biological stress. Recommend immediate action to cease hostile penetration. Anne moved toward the bridge, her crew falling in behind her. The corridors showed signs of the battle that had forced them into emergency drift. Scorch marks darkened walls. Patched hull plates interrupted the usual smooth surfaces, but the Indomitable remained operational, and that was what mattered. The bridge lights activated as she entered. Her chair waited in the center, surrounded by tactical displays and navigation stations. Anne sat down, feeling the familiar connection to her ship returning. Archon display hostile contacts. The main screen illuminated, showing 12 vessels in a loose formation around the Indomitable. Their designs were elegant, almost artistic, with curved hulls and symmetrical weapon placements. They looked nothing like any human or pirate vessel Anne had ever encountered. "First contact scenario," she muttered. "Of course it is." Stone took his position at tactical. "Captain, they're not responding to our automated friendship signals. The scan intensity just increased again." Webb checked her medical readouts from her station. "Captain, if they continue at this intensity, we'll start seeing permanent cellular damage in the crew within 10 minutes. This isn't just a scan. It's physically harmful to human biology." Cole brought weapons and shields online from engineering. All systems responding, railguns charged, point defense active, shields at 60% and climbing. Anne opened all communication channels. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Anne Reeves of the United Earth ship Indomitable. You are conducting an invasive scan of our vessel without permission. This constitutes a hostile act. Cease immediately and respond to this hailing." Silence answered her. The alien vessels continued their scan, the intensity climbing with each passing second. "Archon analysis. Are they receiving our transmission?" "Affirmative, Captain. They possess the capability to receive and translate our communication. They are choosing not to respond." Anne felt the old familiar calm settle over her, the calm that came before battle. She had hoped first contact with alien life would be different, more diplomatic, less violent, but the galaxy clearly had other plans. "All hands battle stations," she ordered. "Spin up the main guns. Route all available power to shields and weapons." Stone's fingers moved across his console. "Targets locked. Awaiting your order, Captain." Anne watched the chronometer count down. 8 minutes until permanent crew damage. 7 minutes. 6. She gave them every possible chance to respond, to acknowledge, to simply stop violating her ship and her crew. "Open a final channel," she said quietly. "Unknown vessels, you have 5 minutes to cease your hostile scan and withdraw. If you continue, we will interpret your actions as an act of war and respond accordingly. This is your only warning." The alien vessels did not respond. Their scan continued, growing stronger, more invasive, more damaging with each second. Anne looked at her crew, Stone ready at tactical, Webb monitoring life signs, Cole managing power distribution, all of them trusting her to make the right call, all of them willing to follow her into whatever came next. 5 minutes passed in tense silence. "Captain," Stone asked. Anne's voice carried no anger, no fear, only cold certainty. "Show them what happens when you violate a human vessel. Fire." The railgun spoke with the voice of thunder compressed into vacuum. Electromagnets accelerated a tungsten carbide slug to a fraction of light speed in less than a second. The projectile crossed the space between the Indomitable and the nearest Halcyon destroyer in 1.8 seconds. Admiral Reth saw the flash on his displays too late to react. The slug punched through his destroyer's shields like they didn't exist, because to kinetic weapons traveling at relativistic speeds, energy shields were barely obstacles. The projectile entered the port side, vaporized through 3 decks, severed the main power coupling, and exited the starboard hull carrying superheated metal with it. The destroyer's fusion core lost containment. For 3 seconds, a miniature star burned where the ship had been. When the light faded, only debris remained. Evasive maneuvers, Reth screamed, his calm, scholarly demeanor shattered. Return fire, all vessels engage. Lyra was already moving, her training overriding her shock. Shields to maximum, target their weapon systems. But the Halcyon Confederation had spent 3 centuries perfecting warfare against energy weapons. Their plasma cannons and particle beams were devastating against similar technology. They had never encountered anyone still using kinetic weapons, had never imagined anyone would be insane enough to accelerate physical projectiles to such velocities. The Indomitable fired again, and again. Each shot was precisely calculated by Archon's targeting systems. Each slug found its mark with mechanical certainty. A second Halcyon vessel lost its engines, the railgun slug severing the connection between power and propulsion. The ship went dark, tumbling through space on momentum alone. A third vessel tried to dodge, its pilot excellent by Confederation standards, but human targeting computers had been designed to track missiles moving even faster. The shot removed the vessel's primary weapons array in a shower of molten metal. Inside the Indomitable, Anne watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. She took no joy in destruction, but her crew's safety was paramount. "Cease fire," she ordered after the 6th shot. 6 alien vessels disabled, 6 more still combat capable. Open communications again. Maybe now they'll listen. The remaining Halcyon ships had stopped scanning. They were too busy trying to survive. Reth stared at his screens in horror. Half his patrol fleet destroyed or disabled in less than 90 seconds. He had fought in the Confederation Wars. He had studied tactics at the finest military academies. Nothing had prepared him for this. "What are they?" he whispered. Lyra pulled up the partial scan data they had managed to collect before the battle started. "Their biology. Admiral, look at this. Their bone density is 3 times normal galactic standard. Their muscle tissue is reinforced with carbon fiber structures. Their cardiovascular system operates under pressures that would rupture most species. What kind of world produces this?" Lyra's antenna drooped in dismay. "A death world, Admiral. They evolved under crushing gravity, intense radiation, and extreme environmental pressures. Their entire physiology is built for survival in conditions we would classify as uninhabitable." Reth understood now. Understood too late. The Confederation had strict protocols for Deathworld species, precisely because they tended to be dangerous. Their technology reflected their biology: brutal, overwhelming, efficient. Where the Confederation built elegant energy weapons, these humans built guns that threw metal faster than most missiles. His communications officer interrupted his thoughts. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the human vessel." A voice filled the bridge, speaking a language the translation computers struggled to process. The accent was harsh, the tone uncompromising. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Ann Reeves. You violated our ship. You harmed our crew with your invasive scans. You ignored our warnings and our attempts at communication. We have disabled your offensive capabilities as a defensive measure. You have 2 options. Withdraw immediately, or we will finish what you started. You have 60 seconds to decide." Reth felt the eyes of his bridge crew on him, felt the weight of his catastrophic mistake pressing down. He had approached an unknown vessel with academic curiosity and military arrogance. He had assumed the Confederation's technological superiority was absolute. He had been wrong. "Transmit our withdrawal," he ordered, his voice hollow. "All vessels, fall back to Rally Point 7. Retrieve escape pods from disabled ships only if the humans permit it." "Admiral, we can't just abandon." "We can and we will," Reth snapped. "Look at the tactical analysis, Commander. That vessel is damaged, operating at reduced capacity, and it destroyed half our fleet in 90 seconds. At full strength, it could annihilate us all. We withdraw. Now." The Halcyon vessels began retreating, their elegant drives pushing them away from the human battleship. But Anne wasn't finished. "Belay that withdrawal order," she transmitted. "Your disabled vessels contain wounded crew. We're sending medical teams. If you fire on our rescue shuttles, we will interpret that as resuming hostilities." Reth couldn't believe what he was hearing. "They're going to help us, after we—" "It appears so, Admiral," Lyra confirmed, equally confused. Small craft began launching from the Indomitable. Not attack ships, but unarmed medical shuttles with clear rescue markings. They approached the crippled Halcyon vessels cautiously, but without weapons active. Anne turned to Dr. Webb. "Take whoever you need. Standard first contact medical protocols. Assume nothing about their biology. And Patricia, be careful." Webb nodded, already gathering her trauma team. "Always am, Captain." Stone watched the alien fleet maintain their distance. "Captain, why are we helping them? They attacked us." Anne settled back in her chair, the tension slowly draining from her shoulders. "They didn't attack us, Lieutenant. They scanned us with technology that's apparently harmless to their biology. They didn't know it would hurt us. When we fired back, they learned fast enough." "So this is a misunderstanding." "A catastrophic one," Anne agreed. "But still a misunderstanding. They stopped the scan. They're withdrawing, and they've got wounded who need help. We're not going to let people die because of a bad first contact." Cole spoke from engineering. "Captain, Archon finished analyzing their scan. It was definitely intelligence gathering, but the AI doesn't classify it as deliberately hostile, more like invasive curiosity." "That's what I thought," Anne said. "Archon, prepare a data package. Full encounter from our perspective, our biological specifications, and why their scan was harmful. Include first contact protocols from the Earth Alliance Handbook. Transmit to the lead alien vessel." "Acknowledged, Captain." Anne knew this encounter was far from over. The aliens would report back to their government or military command. More ships would come. But maybe, just maybe, they could turn this disaster into something productive. On the Eternal Vigilance, Reth received the human data package. His exolinguistics team began translating, his medical staff reviewed the biological information, and his tactical officers studied the encounter from the human perspective. What emerged was terrifying and humbling in equal measure. The humans had shown remarkable restraint. Their weapons could have destroyed every Halcyon vessel. Instead, they had disabled threats and immediately offered aid. Lyra read the biological data with growing astonishment. "Admiral, their homeworld has gravity 40% higher than standard. Their atmosphere contains oxygen levels we would classify as toxic. They evolved alongside predators that would be classified as megafauna extinction events on most worlds." "They're survivors," Reth said quietly, "and we almost made them our enemies." His communications officer looked up urgently. "Admiral, Confederation High Command is requesting immediate report. They've detected the weapons discharge and are dispatching a response fleet." Reth closed his eyes. A response fleet meant dreadnoughts, capital ships, enough firepower to crack planets, all heading toward a human vessel that had just demonstrated it could destroy Confederation ships with contemptuous ease. "How long until they arrive?" 17 hours, Admiral." 17 hours to prevent a war. 17 hours to explain how his curiosity had nearly destroyed everything. Reth began composing his report, knowing every word would determine whether first contact with humanity ended in alliance or annihilation. Dr. Patricia Webb floated through the airlock of the crippled Halcyon destroyer, her medical team behind her in full protective gear. They had no idea what atmosphere these aliens breathed, what pathogens they carried, or how their biology would react to human medicine. First contact medical protocols demanded extreme caution. The interior of the alien ship surprised her. Everything curved rather than meeting at angles. The lighting pulsed in wavelengths slightly outside human visual range, and the gravity was barely 60% of Earth standard, making every movement feel floaty and imprecise. "Stay together," Webb ordered through her helmet comm. "Scan for survivors. Remember, we don't know what injured looks like for these people." Her team spread out through the damaged sections. The railgun slug had torn through the ship like paper, leaving a tunnel of destruction. Debris floated in the zero-gravity sections where life support had failed. But the Halcyon had built their ships with multiple redundant compartments. Most of the crew had survived in sealed sections. Webb found the first survivor in what appeared to be a medical bay. The alien was roughly humanoid in shape but covered in fine scales that shimmered blue and green. They were pinned under a collapsed support beam, their breathing labored. "I've got a live one," Webb reported, "preparing scan." Her medical scanner worked overtime, analyzing alien biology in real time. The data was fascinating and terrifying. These people were fragile. Their bones were hollow like birds. Their organs were efficient but delicate. The gravity they evolved in must have been much lighter than Earth's. "The scan we took earlier," Webb realized aloud. "It wouldn't have hurt them at all. They had no idea what it would do to us." She carefully lifted the beam, her Earth-born strength making easy work of what would have been impossible for the trapped alien. They gasped, their large eyes focusing on her with obvious fear. Webb activated her translator, hoping it could bridge the gap. "Easy. I'm a doctor. I'm here to help." The alien's translator responded in halting but understandable English. "You are the enemy. You destroyed our ships." "We're also the ones keeping you alive," Webb replied, injecting the alien with a broad-spectrum painkiller she hoped would work. "Hold still. This might hurt, but I'll try to be gentle." As she worked, more of her team reported finding survivors. 23 Halcyon crew members injured, 7 critically. The human medical teams moved through the wreckage with efficiency born from years of combat medicine experience. On the Indomitable, Anne received regular updates from the rescue teams. So far, no hostile actions from the remaining Halcyon fleet. They seemed content to watch and wait. "Captain, we're getting communication requests from the disabled ships," Stone reported. "The aliens are asking permission to speak with their crews." "Grant it," Anne said. "Open a general channel. Let them see we're helping." The main screen split into multiple feeds. Halcyon crew members watching in amazement as human medical teams stabilized their wounded, repaired critical life support systems, and even began patching hull breaches. Cole whistled low. "Captain, I'm looking at their engineering. It's incredibly sophisticated, but it's also incredibly fragile. Everything is optimized for efficiency over durability." "Makes sense if they never needed durability before," Anne mused. "Archon, are you getting all this technical data?" "Affirmative, Captain. I am constructing a comprehensive analysis of Halcyon technology and biology. Recommend we prepare detailed first contact documentation for Earth Alliance." Stone's tactical board lit up with new contacts. "Captain, I've got multiple ships incoming, fast, big, and there's a lot of them." Anne felt her stomach drop. Numbers. 47 vessels. 3 of them are reading as capital ships. They'll be here in 16 hours. The Confederation response fleet. Of course they were coming. Anne would have done the same thing if she detected an unknown hostile destroying her ships. "Options?" she asked her bridge crew. Stone worked through scenarios on his tactical computer. "We can run. The Indomitable is faster than most of those ships. We'd have maybe a 70% chance of escaping to deep space." "And leave our medical teams behind," Anne shook her head. "Not an option. What else?" "We can fight. Archon calculates we could disable maybe 10 ships before they overwhelm us through sheer numbers. So we lose but take a lot of them with us. Also not acceptable. Engineering. Cole looked grim. We could try to repair our way out of this, Captain. Get the ship to full combat capacity before they arrive. But that's still 47 against 1. Anne looked at the medical feeds again. Saw Dr. Webb treating alien wounded with the same care she'd give human patients. Saw Halcyon crew members watching in confused gratitude. Saw the possibility of something better than another battle. We have 16 hours, she said. Archon, prepare a complete data package. Everything that happened, everything we've learned about each other, and a proposal for actual first contact protocols. Make it impossible to misunderstand. Captain, you really think talking will work? Stone asked skeptically. Lieutenant, we've proven we can kill them. Now let's prove we don't want to. Aboard the Eternal Vigilance, Admiral Reth watched the same feeds Anne was seeing. His crew members alive because the humans had chosen mercy over vengeance. His initial report to High Command had been clinical and factual, but now he transmitted a second message, a personal one. Fleet Admiral Corrin, this is Admiral Reth. I am sending additional context regarding the human encounter. These beings are unlike anything we have encountered. They possess overwhelming military capability but demonstrate remarkable restraint. They value life, even enemy life, even when showing mercy puts them at risk. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. Admiral, I made a catastrophic mistake. I treated an unknown species with academic curiosity rather than appropriate caution. The humans had every right to destroy my entire fleet. Instead, they disabled our weapons and sent medical teams. They are currently saving Halcyon lives. Lyra appeared beside him. Admiral, we're receiving detailed biological and technological data from the human ship. They're sharing everything we tried to steal with the scan. Reth read through the information, his horror growing. The scan intensities they had used would have been completely harmless to Halcyon biology, but to humans, adapted to crushing gravity and harsh radiation, the scan had felt like physical assault. Their cellular structures were so dense that deep-spectrum scanning actually damaged them. We tortured them, he whispered, without even knowing it. They couldn't have known we meant no harm, Lyra agreed. And we couldn't have known their biology was so different. It was a perfect storm of misunderstanding. Reth sent another message to the incoming fleet. Admiral Corrin, I am transmitting full medical and technical data from the humans. Please review before engaging. These are not hostile invaders. This was first contact gone wrong. We can still salvage this. The response came back faster than expected. Admiral Reth, your fleet engaged an unknown hostile. Protocol demands complete military response. The Confederation cannot show weakness to potential threats. Reth slumped in his chair. Politics, always politics. Corrin wasn't coming to assess the situation. He was coming to make an example. On the damaged Halcyon destroyer, Dr. Webb finished treating the last critical patient. The young Halcyon officer she'd saved earlier, Tren, watched her work with obvious fascination. Why do you help us? He asked through the translator. We harmed you first. Webb sealed a wound with synthetic tissue, her hands steady and sure. Because you didn't mean to. Because mistakes happen. Because every sapient life is worth saving if we can. Is this normal for your species? Webb smiled behind her helmet. Depends on the human, but yeah, mostly. We fight hard when we have to. We fight dirty when we must, but we'd rather not fight at all. Tren absorbed this. The fleet coming to destroy you. They will not listen. Fleet Admiral Corrin is known for decisive action. Then we'll have to be very convincing, won't we? Back on the Indomitable, Anne gathered her senior staff. 16 hours until the Confederation fleet arrived. 16 hours to prepare for either diplomacy or destruction. We're not running, she said firmly. We're not hiding. We're going to meet them head-on and make them understand. Archon, compile everything. Every scan, every conversation, every medical report. I want a complete picture of what happened here. And if they still attack, Stone asked. Anne's expression hardened. Then we show them why Earth sends battleships to protect its people. 15 hours remained when the rescue operations concluded. Every surviving Halcyon crew member had been stabilized, treated, and returned to their ships or transferred to the Eternal Vigilance. Dr. Webb's team had worked miracles with alien biology they barely understood. Anne stood in the medical bay, reviewing casualty reports. 23 Halcyon injured, all now stable. On the human side, 12 crew members had suffered cellular damage from the invasive scans, but all were recovering. No deaths on either side. Given how the encounter had started, that felt like a miracle. Captain, Webb approached, removing her helmet. Her face showed exhaustion but satisfaction. Final medical assessment complete. The Halcyon biology is fascinating. They evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal radiation. Their bodies are optimized for efficiency rather than durability. Which explains why our weapons were so devastating, Anne said. And why their scan hurt us so badly. Captain, they literally didn't have the biological context to understand what they were doing. To them, that scan intensity is like a gentle breeze. To us, it was like being microwaved from the inside. Anne nodded slowly. Have you met any of them? Talked to them. A young officer named Tren. He kept asking why we helped. I don't think he could comprehend enemies showing mercy. Maybe where he's from they don't, Anne mused. Or maybe we just taught them something new. The hours ticked down. Cole and his engineering teams worked feverishly to repair battle damage and bring the Indomitable to full combat readiness. Stone ran endless tactical simulations, none of them showing favorable outcomes. Archon compiled terabytes of data into a comprehensive first contact package. With 10 hours remaining, Anne received an unexpected transmission. Admiral Reth wanted to speak directly with her. His image appeared on screen, the first clear look Anne had gotten at a Halcyon. He was tall and slender, covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with his emotions. His eyes were larger than human standard, adapted for lower light conditions. When he spoke, his voice carried genuine remorse. Captain Reeves, I am Admiral Reth of the Halcyon Confederation. I owe you an apology and an explanation. Anne studied him carefully. I'm listening, Admiral. What we did to your vessel was standard procedure in Confederation space. When we encounter unknown ships, we conduct deep scans to assess potential threats. For every species we have encountered, such scans are completely harmless. We had no way of knowing your biology was so fundamentally different. And when we asked you to stop, Reth's scales darkened with shame. Our translation systems were processing your language. By the time we understood your warning, you had already fired. The delay was measured in seconds, but those seconds cost lives and nearly started a war. Anne absorbed this. So we're both victims of circumstance. We hurt you because we thought you were attacking. You hurt us because you didn't know you were hurting us at all. A perfect catastrophe of misunderstanding, Reth agreed. But Captain, I must warn you. The fleet approaching is commanded by Fleet Admiral Corrin. He is a brilliant strategist but also rigid in his thinking. He sees this incident as an unknown hostile destroying Confederation vessels. He is coming to neutralize the threat. Can you convince him otherwise? I have been trying. I have sent him all the data, all the medical reports. Everything that proves this was first contact gone wrong rather than deliberate aggression. He acknowledges the information but insists protocol demands a military response. Anne felt her jaw tighten. So he's going to attack us to save face. To protect the Confederation, Reth corrected gently. You must understand, Captain, we have enemies, species that would exploit any perceived weakness. If Corrin backs down from an unknown vessel that destroyed half a patrol fleet, it sends a message that the Confederation is vulnerable. Politics, and spat the word. People are going to die because of politics. Perhaps not, Reth said carefully. I have a proposal. Allow me to board your vessel. Let me stand beside you when Corrin arrives. If he sees a Confederation admiral vouching for you, if he sees Halcyon and human cooperation, it might give him reason to reconsider. Anne glanced at Stone, who looked skeptical, at Webb, who nodded encouragement, at Cole, who shrugged uncertainly. You understand you would be putting yourself at risk, Anne said. If this goes badly, you'll be caught in the crossfire. I am already caught in the crossfire, Captain. This disaster began with my mistake. Allow me to help end it. Anne made her decision. Archon, prepare to receive Admiral Reth's shuttle, full diplomatic honors. 2 hours later, Reth stepped aboard the Indomitable. The gravity hit him immediately, 40% stronger than he was adapted for. Every step required effort. Every breath felt heavy, but he kept his posture straight as Anne greeted him. Welcome aboard, Admiral. I apologize for the gravity. Our ship maintains Earth standard. I will adapt, Reth said, though his scales showed strain. Captain, your ship is remarkable. Even damaged, it radiates power. Anne led him to the bridge. Her crew watched the alien admiral with curiosity and caution. Reth studied the command center, noting the brutal efficiency of human design. Everything built to withstand punishment. Nothing wasted on aesthetics. You come from a harsh world, he observed. Earth has tried to kill us in every way imaginable, Anne agreed. We're still here because we learned to be tougher than everything trying to end us. They reviewed the data together. Reth shared classified information about the Confederation's current conflicts. Anne explained Earth's colonial expansion and the pirate attack that had damaged the Indomitable. A picture emerged of two civilizations that could benefit greatly from cooperation, but might destroy each other through mutual incomprehension. With 4 hours remaining, Stone's sensors detected the incoming fleet transitioning to normal space. 47 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. The 3 dreadnoughts positioned themselves at the center, their weapons arrays clearly visible even at extreme range. They are not approaching in diplomatic formation, Reth noted grimly. Anne opened a channel. Confederation fleet, this is Captain Anne Reeves of the United Earth ship Indomitable. We are transmitting complete data regarding the encounter with Admiral Reth's patrol fleet. This was a first contact incident, not an act of aggression. We request the opportunity to resolve this peacefully. The response came from a voice that tolerated no argument. Human vessel, this is Fleet Admiral Corrin of the Halcyon Confederation. You are in violation of Confederation space. You have destroyed or disabled military vessels. You will surrender your ship and submit to immediate detention. Admiral, did you review the data we transmitted? Anne kept her voice level. I reviewed it. Your circumstances are noted. However, protocol is clear. Unknown hostile vessels must be neutralized or contained. You have 10 minutes to comply with surrender demands. Reth activated his own channel. Admiral Corrin, this is Admiral Reth. I am currently aboard the human vessel. I am here voluntarily. These people are not our enemies. I urge you to reconsider your approach. There was a long pause. When Corrin spoke again, his voice carried surprise and anger. Admiral Reth, you are fraternizing with hostiles. Have they taken you prisoner? I am here because I believe in the possibility of peace, Reth replied firmly. Admiral, I made first contact with these humans. I saw their capability and their restraint. They could have killed my entire fleet. Instead, they saved lives. That speaks to character. Or clever strategy to lower our defenses. Anne cut in. Admiral Corrin, I understand your position. You see a threat that must be eliminated, but consider this. We're one ship, you have 47. If we wanted to fight, we would have run. Instead, we're talking. That should tell you something. Stone leaned close to Anne. Captain, they're moving into attack formation. Anne saw it on the tactical display. The dreadnoughts advancing, support vessels spreading into a kill envelope. They had maybe 5 minutes before weapons range. Archon, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Cole, shields to maximum. Stone, weapons hot but do not fire unless fired upon. Reth watched Anne's crew move with practiced efficiency, saw the calm determination on their faces. These humans were ready to fight a battle they couldn't win rather than surrender. Captain, he said quietly, I have one more option. It may save us or doom us both. I'm listening. Allow me to broadcast on all Confederation channels, not just to Corrin but to every ship in his fleet. Let me tell them what I witnessed. Let the ordinary crew members hear the truth. Anne met his eyes, saw sincerity and desperate hope. Do it. Reth's broadcast went out on every frequency the Confederation used. His message bypassed command channels and reached every crew member in the approaching fleet. It was a breach of protocol that could end his career, but careers meant nothing if war consumed both their peoples. Attention all Confederation vessels. This is Admiral Reth speaking from aboard the human battleship Indomitable. I am recording this message to provide testimony about the events that transpired in this sector. Anne watched her tactical display as the fleet continued its approach, but something changed. Their formation wavered slightly. Ships began requesting clarification from their command vessel. Reth continued, his voice steady. 4 days ago, my patrol encountered an unknown vessel drifting in our space. Following standard protocol, I ordered a deep spectrum scan. What I did not know was that the vessel belonged to a species whose biology is radically different from our own. The humans evolved on a death world with gravity 40% higher than standard and radiation levels we would classify as lethal. On the absolute authority, Fleet Admiral Corrin listened with growing fury. His communications officer looked uncertain. Admiral, should we jam this transmission? No, Corrin said after a moment. Let him finish. Then we will address his insubordination. Reth's message played throughout the fleet. Our scanning technology, harmless to Halcyon physiology, caused severe cellular damage to the human crew. When they requested we cease the scan, our translation systems were still processing their language. By the time we understood their warning, they had defended themselves. They disabled half my fleet in 90 seconds. Murmurs rippled through crew members across 47 ships. A single vessel had done that much damage. But here is what you must understand. Reth's voice grew more intense. The humans stopped firing the moment we ceased our hostile action. They could have destroyed every ship in my fleet. Instead, they sent medical teams. Human doctors treated Halcyon wounded with the same care they would give their own people. I watched them save the life of Officer Tren, knowing that his fleet might return to kill them. Anne saw more hesitation in the fleet's formation. Individual ship commanders questioning their orders. Reth pressed his advantage. I am aboard this vessel by choice. I have met Captain Anne Reeves and her crew. They are warriors, yes, but they are also explorers, scientists, and healers. They do not want war. They want to find their place among the stars. We nearly destroyed the possibility of peaceful coexistence because of a tragic misunderstanding. I ask you, all of you, is it worth compounding that mistake with deliberate violence? Corrin's face appeared on the Indomitable's main screen. His expression showed barely controlled rage. Admiral Reth, you have violated protocol, undermined command authority, and committed treason by broadcasting classified military assessments to foreign hostiles. With respect, Admiral, they are not hostiles, Reth replied. They are potential allies we are about to make into permanent enemies. Your opinion is noted and will be addressed in your court-martial. Captain Reeves, Admiral Reth's emotional testimony does not change the tactical reality. You destroyed Confederation vessels. Protocol demands response. Anne stepped forward. Admiral Corrin, let me ask you something. You're a military commander. You've studied tactics and strategy. If I wanted to destroy your fleet, would I really sit here talking? Corrin's eyes narrowed. Explain. Archon display weapons analysis. The screen filled with technical data. Archon's calm voice provided narration. Analysis of Confederation fleet composition versus indomitable combat capability. Human railgun technology operates on principles fundamentally different from Confederation energy weapons. Confederation shields are optimized for plasma and particle beam defense. Effectiveness against kinetic weapons traveling at relativistic velocities, approximately 11%. Stone added his tactical assessment. Admiral, we've run the simulations. If we fought at full capacity, we could disable or destroy 31 of your ships before being overwhelmed. That's a 66% casualty rate for you, and that's us damaged, operating at reduced capability. Cole brought up engineering schematics. Our armor is designed to withstand impacts that would vaporize your hulls. Our shields can take sustained fire from weapons you haven't invented yet. We're built for survival in conditions you would classify as apocalyptic. And let the information sink in before continuing. Admiral, we're not bragging. We're trying to make you understand. If we wanted to hurt you, we would have already done it. We're sitting here talking because we believe there's a better way. Corrin studied the data with a strategist's eye. The numbers didn't lie. Even victory against this single human vessel would be catastrophically expensive. And if there were more human ships out there, ships at full combat effectiveness. You make a compelling tactical argument, Captain, but tactics are not my only consideration. The Confederation has enemies who watch for weakness. If we negotiate with a vessel that destroyed our ships, we appear vulnerable. Or, Webb's voice cut in from her station, you appear wise enough to distinguish between accidents and aggression. Admiral, I treated 23 of your people. Not one of them wanted this fight. They were scared, confused, and grateful to be alive. Is their gratitude weakness? Tren's voice joined the conversation, transmitted from the Eternal Vigilance. Fleet Admiral Corrin, this is Officer Tren. Permission to speak freely. Corrin looked surprised but nodded. Granted. Sir, the humans saved my life. I was dying, and Dr. Webb stabilized me with medicine designed for a completely different biology. She took risks to help an enemy. Admiral Reth is right. These people are not our enemies unless we force them to be. More voices joined in. Halcyon crew members who had been treated by human medical teams. Their testimony carried weight that tactical analysis could not match. Real experiences from real people. Corrin sat back in his command chair, the rigid certainty in his expression beginning to crack. Captain Reeves, I have reviewed all data transmitted. I have heard testimony from multiple sources. I acknowledge the possibility that this encounter was indeed a tragic misunderstanding. Thank you, Admiral, Anne said carefully. However, Corrin continued, I cannot simply ignore that Confederation vessels were destroyed. There must be accountability. There must be formal investigation. I agree completely, Anne said, surprising him. We're prepared to cooperate fully with any investigation. We'll provide complete sensor logs, medical data, and testimony from our crew. We want the truth understood as much as you do. Reth spoke up. Admiral Corrin, I propose a formal first contact commission. Halcyon and human representatives working together to establish proper protocols. We can ensure this never happens again. Corrin considered this. A commission would satisfy political requirements while avoiding further violence. It would buy time for cooler heads to prevail, and it would establish humanity as a known quantity rather than an unknown threat. Captain Reeves, I am prepared to suspend hostile action pending formal investigation. However, I require assurances. You will remain in this system. You will submit to non-invasive monitoring. You will cooperate with Confederation authorities." "Agreed," Anne said, "with one condition." Corin raised an eyebrow. "You are hardly in a position to make demands." "Not a demand, a request. We have wounded crew members who need proper medical facilities. We need repair materials for our ship. We've been drifting for months after fighting pirates. We defended ourselves against what we perceived as another attack. All we want now is the chance to recover and talk." The honesty in her voice carried across the transmission. Corin saw not a conqueror but a commander trying to protect her people. "Your wounded will receive treatment," he said finally. "Your ship will receive repair priority, but you will also answer questions. Many questions." "I wouldn't expect anything less, Admiral." The tension that had filled the bridge for hours began to ease. Stone powered down weapons. Cole redirected shields to minimum. Webb allowed herself a small smile. Reth's scales brightened with relief. "Thank you, Admiral Corin. I believe we have just witnessed the beginning of something historic." Corin's expression remained stern but showed a hint of curiosity. "Perhaps, Admiral Reth, or perhaps we have simply delayed the inevitable. Time will tell." The Confederation fleet changed formation, shifting from attack posture to escort pattern. The Indomitable remained at the center, no longer a target but not yet a trusted ally. Anne turned to her crew. "Stand down from battle stations. Maintain regular watch rotation. And someone get Admiral Reth a chair designed for lighter gravity before he collapses." Reth managed a weak smile. "Your gravity is indeed challenging, Captain." "You get used to it," Anne assured him. "Or it kills you. We're still figuring out which." As the crisis passed, both fleets began the slow work of establishing communication, building trust and transforming a near disaster into potential cooperation. It would not be easy. Cultural differences ran deep, and suspicion on both sides remained strong. But they had taken the first step. They had chosen words over weapons, understanding over destruction. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, humanity and the Halcyon Confederation began writing a new chapter in galactic history. 3 weeks after the encounter, Anne stood in a conference room aboard the Concordance, a Confederation diplomatic vessel designed specifically for interspecies meetings. The room could adjust gravity, atmosphere, and even light wavelengths to accommodate different biologies. Currently, it maintained a compromise: 80% Earth gravity, comfortable enough for Halcyon delegates while not completely weakening the humans. Fleet Admiral Corin sat across from her, no longer in military posture but in the careful neutrality of a negotiator. Admiral Reth occupied a seat between them, serving as both mediator and witness. A dozen other representatives filled the room, scientists and diplomats from both sides. "We have spent 21 days investigating the initial encounter," Corin began, his scales showing colors Anne had learned indicated formal speech. "All evidence confirms Captain Reeves' account. The scan was conducted according to Confederation protocol. The defensive response was justified under human military doctrine. The misunderstanding was inevitable given our mutual ignorance." Anne nodded. "Our analysis agrees. The question is what we do now." A Halcyon scientist, her name translated as Myra, spoke up. "Captain, we have studied your biological data extensively. Your species fascinates us. You should not exist." Webb, attending as the Indomitable's medical expert, smiled. "We get that a lot, actually. Earth tried very hard to kill us off. We're stubborn." Myra's antenna twitched with what Anne had learned was amusement. "Your world has gravity that would crush most species, radiation levels that would cause cellular breakdown, atmospheric oxygen concentrations that would be toxic, weather patterns that include destructive storms, temperature extremes, and seismic instability. Yet you not only survived but thrived. And built weapons that reflect our environment," Corin added. "Your railgun technology is primitive by our standards but devastatingly effective. You accelerate physical mass to velocities we reserve for missiles. Cole, representing engineering, nodded. We learned early that simple solutions are often the best. Energy weapons are great, but they require complex containment and significant power. A chunk of metal moving fast enough doesn't care about your shield frequency. This is precisely why the Confederation needs humanity, Reth interjected. We have grown comfortable with our technology, our tactics, our understanding of warfare. You challenge all our assumptions. Corrin's expression remained neutral. Admiral Reth makes a compelling point, though I note his bias. He believes humanity can help us against the Devourers. Anne leaned forward. Tell me about these Devourers. You've mentioned them several times, but never with much detail. The room's atmosphere shifted. Halcyon delegates exchanged glances. Corrin made a decision. The Devourers are an aggressive hive-mind species from the galactic rim. They consume resources, technology, and biological material to fuel constant expansion. We have been at war with them for 17 years. We are losing. Maps appeared on the central display, showing Confederation territory steadily shrinking. Red zones marked Devourer-controlled space, expanding like cancer across the galaxy. We have superior technology, Myra explained. Better ships, more efficient weapons, advanced shields. But the Devourers don't care about casualties. They throw endless waves at our defenses until something breaks. Our elegant solutions fail against brute force tactics. Anne studied the maps with a tactician's eye. You're fighting a war of attrition, and they have more bodies than you have bullets. Crude but accurate, Corrin agreed. This is why your appearance is both threat and opportunity. If humanity allies with the Confederation, your approach to warfare could provide new strategies. But if humanity proves hostile, we cannot afford another front. We're not your enemies, Anne said firmly. But we're also not your mercenaries. If Earth agrees to an alliance, it will be as equals, not subordinates. Earth, Reth asked. You speak of your homeworld as separate from yourself. Webb explained. Captain Reeves commands the Indomitable, one of 12 colony ships sent to establish human presence in deep space. We're explorers and defenders, but we're not Earth's government. Any formal alliance would require negotiation with the Earth Alliance back home. How long would such negotiation take? Anne calculated distances and communication lag. 6 months minimum for messages to reach Earth and return, probably longer for actual diplomatic delegations. We're a long way from home. Corrin absorbed this. The Devourers will not wait 6 months. We need solutions now. Then let's talk about what we can do immediately, Anne suggested. We share information. Your scientists study our technology, we study yours. We establish formal first contact protocols so this disaster never repeats. We build trust through cooperation. Myra practically vibrated with excitement. I would very much like to study human medical technology. Dr. Webb's trauma care techniques saved lives our own doctors had given up on. Webb grinned. And I'd love to learn about your cellular regeneration tech. You heal from injuries that would cripple humans permanently. Cole and his Halcyon engineering counterpart had already been exchanging ideas. Captain, their shield harmonics are incredible. If we could adapt them to work with our armor plating, we could significantly improve defensive capability. The atmosphere in the room shifted from formal negotiation to excited collaboration. Scientists compared notes. Engineers sketched designs. Even the military officers began discussing tactical theory. Anne watched it happen with quiet satisfaction. This was how alliances really formed, not through grand treaties but through people finding common ground. Corrin noticed the same thing. Captain Reeves, I came here prepared to negotiate terms of surrender or mutual defense. Instead, I find my people already working with yours as if you've been allies for years. Is that a problem? Anne asked. No, Corrin admitted. It is unexpected but not unwelcome. Perhaps Reth was right. Perhaps this catastrophic first contact was actually fortunate. Reth's scales showed satisfied colors. Fortune favors the flexible admiral. Over the following weeks, cooperation deepened. The Indomitable received full repairs using both human and Halcyon technology. The hybrid systems performed better than either species had achieved alone. Human doctors trained Halcyon medical staff in trauma care. Halcyon scientists taught humans about energy field manipulation. Anne sent a detailed report back to Earth, knowing her message would take months to arrive. She explained the encounter, the alliance forming, and the potential benefits of cooperation with the Confederation. She also warned about the Devourers and recommended Earth prepare for eventual contact with this new galactic civilization. On the day the Indomitable prepared to depart, Corin requested a final meeting with Anne. They met on the observation deck of the Concordance, watching stars stream past. "Your ship is ready, Captain. You are free to continue your original mission or return to Earth. The Confederation will provide navigation data and safe passage guarantees." "Thank you, Admiral, though I notice you didn't ask where we're going." Corin's scales showed subtle amusement. "I assumed you would inform me if you wished me to know." Anne smiled. "Actually, I wanted to propose something. The Indomitable's mission is exploration and colony support. We're supposed to survey potential colony sites and protect human interests, but our orders give me significant autonomy." "What are you proposing?" "Let us stay. Not permanently, but for a few months. We can help train your forces in human combat doctrine. We can assist in developing new defensive strategies against the Devourers, and we can serve as Earth's unofficial representatives until formal diplomacy begins." Corin considered this carefully. Such an arrangement would be unprecedented. A foreign military vessel operating within Confederation space. "A foreign allied vessel," Anne corrected. "Admiral, that first encounter could have destroyed both our peoples. Instead, it brought us together. Let's build on that. Let's prove that different species can work together. And when Earth's response arrives, if they reject alliance..." Anne met his eyes steadily. "Then we've still gained knowledge, friendship, and understanding. That's worth something regardless of politics." Corin extended his hand in the human gesture he'd learned. "Captain Reeves, on behalf of the Halcyon Confederation, I accept your proposal. Welcome to our space. Welcome as allies." Anne shook his hand firmly. "Thank you, Admiral. I think this is the beginning of something important." As the Indomitable moved through Confederation space in the following months, it became a symbol of unexpected cooperation. Human and Halcyon crew members worked together, learned from each other, and built friendships across species lines. The ship participated in defensive operations against Devourer incursions, its railguns proving devastatingly effective against enemy vessels unprepared for kinetic weapons. Stories spread through both civilizations about the human battleship and its crew, about how a catastrophic mistake had been transformed into opportunity, about how Captain Anne Reeves had chosen mercy over vengeance and dialogue over destruction. And when Earth's response finally arrived, 6 months later, it came with both diplomatic delegations and additional ships. The Earth Alliance had reviewed all data and reached a conclusion. The Halcyon Confederation represented potential friends in a dangerous galaxy. The formal treaty took another year to negotiate. The alliance that emerged was built on the foundation Anne and Corin had established, cooperation earned through mutual respect and shared challenges. Admiral Reth, who had started everything with a simple scientific scan, was promoted to head the new Joint Species Committee. His first official act was to establish protocols ensuring no future first contact would repeat their near disaster. Dr. Webb received a Confederation Medal of Honor for her medical innovations, which had saved over 300 Halcyon lives. She accepted it with characteristic humility, and immediately requested more time to study alien biology. Lieutenant Stone became an instructor at the Confederation Military Academy, teaching tactics and strategy to the next generation of officers. His classes were always full, students eager to learn from the human who had calculated how to fight 47 ships with one. Engineer Cole pioneered hybrid technology that combined human durability with halcyon efficiency. His designs became standard across both fleets. And Anne, she continued doing what she had always done, exploring, protecting, building bridges between different peoples. The Indomitable became a mobile symbol of cooperation, proof that even the worst mistakes could lead to the best outcomes. Years later, when historians studied first contact between humanity and the Halcyon Confederation, they called it the Fortunate Disaster. A single scanning mistake that should have started a war, but instead forged an alliance that changed the galaxy. Anne never corrected them, but she knew the truth. It wasn't fortune or disaster that determined the outcome. It was choice. The choice to communicate instead of destroy, to help instead of harm, to see potential allies instead of certain enemies. That choice made all the difference. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, humanity and the Halcyon Confederation continued writing their shared story, one careful decision at a time.